NBA radio host, a New Orleans Pelicans TV analyst, a Fox Sports Radio NBA analyst, and an NBA champion, our man, Antonio Daniels. What up?
Yo.
Fellas, what's going on?
How you?
We are good, man. How are you?
I am truly blessed. Far more than I deserve, fellas.
Hey, I hear you on that.
Amen to that. Now, let's start with Ja. We were just talking about Ja Morant, Rob and I, and we saw him also do his interview with Jalen Rose on TV. What do you, like, do you think this situation, like, what type of impact do you think it will have on the Grizzlies? They're the number 2 seed. They're a contender. What type of impact do you think this will have on their playoff run?
I don't. I don't think it'll have an impact on their playoff run because Ja Morant will be back in enough time to kind of find his rhythm. Again, it's not like he's coming back right when the playoffs have started. You know, if you look at when he's eligible to play, which he won't, which is March 20th against the Dallas Mavericks, if you took from that point on, he still has in a total of 65 games. They have 12 games remaining after that. So he'll still have a legitimate time left with this particular team to find his rhythm. And I feel like if something is going to kind of deter them from accomplishing what they're capable of accomplishing, it's not just Ja Morant. It's the fact that there's no Brandon Clark, the fact that there's no Steven Adams. Ja Morant is a bigger piece, but those other pieces are pretty significant as well.
What did you make of, and nobody knows, and I mean, I haven't seen the Jalen Rose interview, and I would, but I guess the only thing out of seeing that video or from the live is, like, what were you expecting to get from that? Like, that's the part I don't understand. Like,
if you're who?
If you're Ja, like doing that video, you know what I mean? Like, what's the game? When you saw that, what did you think?
For me, this is the culture that we live in, though, fellas. Like, it is think. I tell people all the time via social media, just because you think something or just because you scroll and see something doesn't mean you have to comment. Sometimes seeing something and continuing to scroll is okay. Disagreeing with something and continuing to scroll is okay. But we live in a culture where it's almost like if you didn't see it, it didn't happen.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's like I have to show everybody. And our culture as a whole, which drives me crazy, sometimes we get into this whole it's cool to be a thug thing.
Right.
It's awesome.
Right.
Let me show everybody that I have a gun. Like, dude, do you understand how many people, how many young children that are impressionable, and easily influenced, are looking up to you? And this sometimes this is the wake up call that people need. Because I tell you what, I will be a fool to sit here and judge Ja Morant. Because when I was 23 years old and I was 24 years old, I did some pretty foolish things. Now, just because I didn't do the same thing he did doesn't give me the right to judge him. I did some pretty foolish things, but the difference was I didn't have social media.
Yeah, and I think you hit it on the head with wake up call. I can't imagine this won't be a wake up call to him because he wasn't raised that way. We all know that. And so hopefully this is a wake up call to him. And he said he did a longer interview with Scott Van Pelt, and he talked about, he realizes how much he has to lose, how much his friends have to lose. And so,
you know what though, fellas? As much as this should be a wake up call to Ja Morant, it should be a wake up call to those around Ja Morant too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Those in Ja Morant's circle. So I would be foolish to sit here and say it's just simply about Ja Morant. Because as you get older, you start to learn other things. What's cool, what's not cool. When you're younger, it's cool to surround yourself with your entourage. When you're older, it's cool to surround yourself with your wife and your kids and your family. Right? So those that are around Ja Morant need to take note from. So he's not the only one that should have been in counseling. There's the people that are around Ja Morant that were in counseling their own way. So now when he comes out and he's moving forward, they can help put him in the best position to be the best version of himself.
Here's a question I want to get to the Lakers tonight. They go ahead. You got something?
I was going to say, can we start with last night? You got to see him up close and personal. I get it. You guys don't have Zion, but how impressed were you? And the West? Antonio, I've never seen the West this wide open. How impressed were you? And do you think, what do you think their chances are of doing something special in the playoffs.
Well, here's the thing. Number one, I'll tell you, calling that game last night versus the Pelicans, I said this numerous times on the broadcast. I was very impressed with the Lakers yesterday. And it's different when you see it on TV, right? When you see it on TV and you see the fact that they were 7-3 and they're first in the NBA in defensive rating since the trade deadline, all that stuff. Like, oh, well, that's good and great. What they did last night with the Pelicans, and I guess I'm more impressed with Darvin Ham. His ability to put certain guys on that team in a position of success, right? I play for Pop. One thing Pop was really good at is basically shifting his offense to cater to the skill set of his players. And Darvin Ham has done that, right? With Malik Beasley, with Anthony Davis, with guys like Jared Vanderbilt, Austin Reeves, D'Angelo Russell, these kind of guys. I tell you my only issue. I tell you my one issue. I want to see how this team looks when LeBron James returns. Because when LeBron James comes back, things change. Right. He cast a large shadow. You're not putting a role player back in, a guy who is averaging 10 points a game. You're putting in a guy who's averaging 30 points a game, 25 points per game for 19 straight years, and asking him to fit in with what's going on. That's what I'm more interested to see. I was impressed with the Lakers on both sides of the basketball yesterday.
Well, obviously they got off to a 14-0 start, made the most threes in the history of their franchise in the first half, 15. But tonight, no Anthony Davis. They're down by 14 or so already to the Rockets. I just, he feels fine. Why would you not play him in a game where you're trying to make it into the playoffs?
Stop it, Rob.
What? Why is he not playing tonight? Why is he not playing?
Because the thing is, Rob, you know what, man? I am where you are right now is how I used to feel. But now I'm past the point of, I'm almost to the point of expecting this. This is the NBA in 2023, Rob.
But it doesn't stop people from getting hurt, though, Antonio. I hear you. Show me the data that shows if you sit Anthony Davis tonight, he won't get hurt in 2 weeks.
Right.
I don't understand it.
Rob, I go on my SiriusXM show, and I have said for years now, the reason I feel like guys are hurt more now than ever is because of load management.
Okay.
Trust me, I am right there with you. But what I refuse to do is continue to get upset every time a star sits out on the other side of a back-to-back. As opposed to getting upset and bothered by it, I now expect it. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, I hear you. It's just it's crazy to me.
No,
it is. And look, I couldn't agree with you more. I cannot agree with you more.
And Antonio, they're down now. It's early. We see more comebacks than ever because of the
down by 14
shot this year. But they're down 14 early to the Rockets. This is the thing. You know that if they lose this game, I'm not saying they won't make the playoffs.
But it hurts you.
Yeah, I mean, they don't have time to fool around, especially with LeBron out for a while. And I hear you on your point. Now, I don't think he's as ball dominant as he used to be. And you even saw last night, you saw Anthony Davis at times bringing the ball up court. You know, LeBron could bring the ball up court. They've got shooters to surround him with now. So maybe that's an easier transition, but I'm with you. I mean, it's never been easy for guys to fit in around LeBron. So that said, right now, and maybe you don't even have a team because it like I said, it's so wide open. But who do you see right now as kind of that top team? If you had to say a favorite in the West, who would it be?
And you know what? I say this, but I don't say this with confidence. Right now, the only team that I can go with is Denver right now. And you know why? Because as of today, they're the most complete team. If you go down and you look at the different teams, there's an issue with every team if you work your way down. Right? So if you go down, you can go down to Sacramento's never been there. Right? They don't have any playoff experience. We all know that. Right? Memphis with Ja Morant, and they're missing Steven Adams. They're missing Brandon Clark. And you can go down the list. New Orleans, no Zion Williamson. You know, Jose Alvarado's hurt. You know, who knows who's going to be in and out the lineup. Dallas, no Kyrie Irving, no Luka. You can go down the list of different teams. Minnesota, no Karl Anthony Towns. So right now, I would say Denver because they are the most complete team.
Do you Kevin Durant may get, 8 games with his new team before the playoffs begin. I know they're talented. I think they're the most talented team, certainly in the West. I know people question their depth, but certainly that top four is as good as it gets in today's NBA. Do you think there's any way a team can play 8 games together and get to the finals?
Yes. And you know why I feel this way? Simply because it's Kevin Durant. If it's anybody else, I'm not having this same conversation. If it's anybody else, what I'm telling you guys is, you know what? Chemistry matters.
Mm-hmm.
Time together matters. You can't cheat that part. But then I look at the resume of Kevin Durant, the cachet of Kevin Durant. You know what you can never say about him? There's never been a situation that Kevin Durant has never fit into. There's never been a situation, offensive system, or a coach that Kevin Durant didn't play for that he looked out of place. Right?
No,
I don't care
true.
who you put him with. Whoever you put him with, he is good to go because he's a catch-and-shoot guy. You can put him on the perimeter. You can put him on the post. I am only making this argument simply because it's Kevin Durant. Anybody else, I'm not saying that same thing.
All right. That's our man, Antonio Daniels.
Thanks,
with the
buddy.
knowledge. We appreciate it, man.
For sure. Appreciate you guys.
All right. Peace. Be sure to join Fox Sports Radio's $1 Million Bracket Challenge. That's right. I said it. $1 million. If you fill out the perfect bracket at foxsportsradio.com, that's what you'll get. $1 million. And you can compete against Fox Sports Radio hosts such as the esteemed Rob Parker and other fellow listeners. The listener who finishes in first place, whether you get it perfect or not, first place wins you a prize pack featuring a Legacy Box 40 item trunk. That's valued at nearly $1,200. That'll turn your old family movies and pictures into digital keepsakes. Is great. A Traeger meter block that's valued at $350. Rob, the way that works, the ultimate way to monitor meat on your grill. Sounds fantastic. And a Chalk bundle that's valued at nearly $500 that features 9 popular supplements found at CHOQ.com, chalk.com, and it'll help you reclaim your vitality. All in all, it's a prize pack valued at more than $2,000. So go fill out your brackets now at foxsportsradio.com. You got until noon Eastern on Thursday. Noon Eastern on Thursday, and that's foxsportsradio.com to fill out your bracket, get the official rules, and take a stab at getting $1 million.